Today I'm going to build a website using Orchard 1.4, and to do that I'm going to start with vanilla Orchard installation as installed from the default branch of the software, but you could download it from Codeplex and get the exact same results. So once I've compiled the source code and launched the website, I'm prompted to enter the name of the site, choose a username for the administrator, a password, and then I have a choice between SQL Server Compact or full SQL Server as the database. I'm leaving SQL Server Compact, but on an actual server I would probably use SQL Server. I also chose the default recipe, which is a set of default features enabled for you. You can also choose the blog recipe or an empty recipe if you like to start from scratch. So when this is done, we get default website with some contents that we are going to replace. First thing to do is click on dashboard, the dashboard link, to get into the admin UI of the application. And let's look at what modules are new in Orchard 1.4. There is a new module called Upgrade to 1.4, which is used if you already have an Orchard 1.3 or earlier version, although I recommend to do it on 1.3. If you enable that module, you will get a new menu entry that reads Migrate to 1.4, and that's a set of tools to migrate your contents to 1.4, which has some broken compatibility with previous versions requiring this module. We won't need that because we are starting from scratch here. Some of the new modules include Alias. Alias is a module that will enable you to manage the URLs of your contents. We also have the projection module, the projector module, which we are going to use heavily in this demonstration. And this enables you to create your own queries over your contents. And another new feature that we have is additional fields that you can use to build your own content types. So we have new Boolean, date fields, media fields, and so on. Okay, so the website is not very exciting right now. It's using the default theme. So the first thing I'm going to do is install a theme from my computer. For that, I selected the theme entry in the admin menu and I clicked install a theme from my computer. Then I can choose the package that I want to upload. Themes, like modules, are NuGet packages, which is a packaging format. All right, so now my new theme has been uploaded. There it is, available. And I hope you like yellow. So let's preview that theme. All right, so this is what it's going to look like. For the moment, I'm the only one to see this, but as soon as I've applied the theme, now everyone is seeing this. So I could uninstall the previous theme, or I could just disable it and leave it in place. Uninstall would completely remove it from the hard drive. Disable will just leave it there, but in an inactive state. So I'm doing this. The reason why you could not do it is that you can have more than one theme available at one time, and they can be selected. For example, for mobile, you could have another mobile theme available. On this site, we're just going to use that one theme. Next, I'm going to go to the Orchard gallery to install. Well, I could install the module from here, upload it from my computer, and choose a file. That's one way of doing it. But that module is also available from the gallery. We'll see later how you install a module from the gallery as well. So once the module has been uploaded, I'm prompted to install its features. So this module has only one feature, external blog aggregation. So I'm leaving that checked, clicking OK, and that will enable the feature that came with the module. All right, the module is installed. Now, we still don't have any contents in here. So what I'm going to do is import some contents, and that's a module you have to enable first, import export. But once you have done that, you can import an XML file containing existing contents. And here, as you can see, I'm uploading some external blog posts. This was exported from the Orchard project website. So each post has a URL, an author, a title, a body part, date, and all that. So that contents is conveniently packaged in an XML file, and I'm just going to upload that, and that will provide me with some contents. And that file is available if you need it, if you want to reproduce this demo. All right, so here is our new contents, but now it's not being displayed anywhere, so we will need to do something about that. Oh, and one thing is that this version of the module is using container, so each post can be contained. And that was that drop-down that we had on top of the editor. So here I'm in the content type editor, and I'm editing the external post content type, and I'm removing the containable part, which is what was responsible for that drop-down. Each content type in Orchard is made from content parts, and you can remove and add content parts at will. So that's what I did here. I removed the content part that I didn't need, and my content is still working. So now I can view those items, and that actually takes me to the actual remote blog post, external blog post. All right, so what we want to do now is build a query that is going to display that contents. So I'm clicking on queries. I'm adding a new query. I'll call it home. This will be my new homepage. Well, it will feed my new homepage more precisely. So now I can edit that query, and I can add filters, sort criteria, and layouts. I'm going to start with a filter, and what I want is to display the contents of a particular type. So I have a choice of filters here. The one that I want is content types here. So I'm going to pick this one, content types. And now I can choose any content type, or I can choose a particular type. I chose contents with type external blog post. And now I want those posts to be sorted by reverse date of creation. So I can add a new sort criterion and sort by creation date. And it's asking me ascending or descending, so I'm going to pick descending, save, and there it is, ordered by creation date, descending. I can preview the results of that query and verify that this is what I want. Now that I have this query, I need to display it somewhere. And the easiest way to do that is to create a new projection page. I'm going to call this, well, to give it a title, recent posts. And I'm leaving the permalink empty, and I'm checking set as homepage. And this will actually replace the homepage that I already have with this one. the query is already selected because there is only one available in the system right now. I want 5 items per page and I want a pager. I want pagination on that home page. So I'm setting that, and now when I go back to my site, there it is. My home page is now showing the most recent external blog posts that were published. And I have pagination here. I can go to the second page. I can go to the third page, back to the first. Everything works as expected, except that on the bottom of the page, I still have these 3 widgets that were added by setup. And lorem ipsum is all very interesting, but I'm going to get rid of that. So for that, I'm going to go to Widgets in the admin menu, and I'm going to select each of the widgets in turn and delete them. So here you can see the widgets in their respective zones, and I can select them, delete, confirm, select, delete, confirm, select, delete, confirm. Alright, so now our home page is as we want it, with those widgets gone. Well, not exactly as I want it. I actually would like to have some contents on the right-hand side of the page. So I'm going to go to Widgets again. Let's not worry about layers for now. This is kind of an advanced topic. The widgets that I'm going to add here are going to appear on all pages in the site. So I'm choosing an HTML widget, which is a plain, rich text widget. I'm going to give it the title Orchard14. I'm going to let it render its own title, and then I can enter a body for that widget. Orchard14 is out. Get it from Codeplex, which is a very good piece of advice. Go back to the site, and there it is. Our widget is here with its contents. Alright, so that's nice. Not super exciting. Let's make it a little more exciting by adding a new widget that will show a random post from the list. So I'm creating a new query that I'm going to call random post. Save that. Edit that query. And again, I'm going to add a filter on content type. External post, save. And then I'm going to select a different sort criterion. And this time I'm going to choose random, which is very convenient. So this is just going to order the external posts in random order. So if I preview this and I refresh, every time I get a different set of contents, a different ordering of my contents. So that's what I want, except that I want only one. But that will be dealt with when we actually display the results of that query inside of a widget. So I'm going back to widgets and adding to a site second, which is my right-hand zone. And this time I'm adding a projection widget. Second position, I'm going to give it a title so that I can recognize it in the list, but I'm not going to render that title. I'm rather going to render the title of the post. So here I'm choosing the query that I just created, and in items to display, this is where I specify that I want only one. All right, so we can save this and go back to our site and see that we have a new widget displaying one random external post. So the rendering is not very nice here. We have a bullet here, we have a title, we have tags that we don't want, the text is way too long for a widget, we have some information that we don't want there. Let's fix this. So go back to queries, and we are going to edit that query here and add a new layout. So by default, when you create a query, it renders as an HTML list, but you can create your own layout or modify the ones that are already there. And here, this is the default content mode, and there is a properties mode, which is much more flexible and which is what we are going to use this. We need to save the layout first, and there it is. Now we can add new properties to this layout. So we have a choice of properties that we can use here. The first that I'm going to choose is display text, which is down here under content. So display text is basically the title, but it can come from different sources depending on the content type. Here it's just going to be the title of that post. I could modify a few things in there. I could actually completely rewrite the way it looks, but here I'm just going to customize a wrapper for this. So customize wrapper, and I'm going to specify H2 so that it looks like a header, second level header. Save this, and I have one property in there that is displayed, the display text, as an H2. So now I can go back to my widget and select a different query because it appears as a different query here. So instead of just random post default layout, this is random post unordered HTML list. So let's pick this one and save and see what it looks like. Go back to the site, and there it is. Now we have only the title being displayed, and it's being displayed as an H2, as a second level header. So let's go back to the dashboard and add some more properties in this query. So we can do that by going back to the widget, and there is a convenient edit query link next to the query dropdown. So here I'm just editing that layout, and I'm going to add some new properties. The first property that I want to add to the title is the body of the post, but I want to modify this so that it doesn't appear too long. So I'm just going to select the body part text here, which is the first one. But this time I'm going to use rewrite results. I'm going to trim that output to 100 characters. So that's a maximum. I'm only going to trim on a word boundary so that it doesn't look too weird. I'm going to use ellipses and strip HTML tags so that that summary doesn't destroy my layout if there is some rich text in there. There it is. The contents here of the widget has been shortened, and I can refresh. I get a new external post every time I refresh, and it's never going to take too much space in there because I trimmed it. Let's add some more properties, but the thing is there is a second tab here in queries that we haven't noticed yet. That's bindings. So bindings are what exposes the properties that you can use in your layouts, and this is extensible. You get a few out of the box, like the title, but you can add your own bindings if you need to. So in this case, I want to get the URL of that external post, which is a special property that is being introduced by this part here. So I'm going to choose URL here, and I'm going to describe what it looks like to the user, to the administrator of the site. So it's going to display external post URL as its display. It's going to need a description. So I'm just going to copy and paste the same description as the display text and save. And now, when I go back to my query and edit its layout, when I add a new property, my URL property is now available, and I can click it, and add it to my layout. And again, I'm going to rewrite this one even more heavily than I rewrote the body. This time I actually want to completely rewrite the output. So I'm checking rewrite output, and now I have a choice of tokens. Tokens is a feature that was introduced in Orchard 1.3, and that exposes a number of variables that you can use in some places, such as this rewrite text, but we will see other uses of tokens in this video later. For the moment, the one I want is under text. So it's the text of the property that I want to rewrite, and I want to HTML encode it because I'm going to use it in an attribute of a tag. So here what I'm saying is that I want a link. The href of that link is the HTML encoded version of the text, and I want the link to say go to this post. Close the link, and I think we can save, and there it is, external blog post part record URL. And we can look at the site and see what, there it is. Our link is here, and it's pointing to the actual post that is being displayed. So here is another one. So this is working like we want it to work. So that's nice. Now we have custom layout for a random post without writing a line of code. Speaking of code, if you are interested in code, all this is extensible. So there is nothing magical in there, and you can build your own features such as this. So an example of this is the content type filter that we've been using. This is actually a fairly simple piece of code with a description that gives some metadata about what the filter is about, its title, its description. And it also points to the methods that are used to actually apply or display that filter. So the display filter, for example, is displaying content with type and then what you selected, or any content type if you didn't select any. And it's using the context that gets passed in to build that description. And to apply the filter, it's also fairly simple. It's really the relevant line of code is this one. It's adding to the query that it wants to query for type, and then it takes the list of types that was configured. I also want to show the random sort that I've been using, how it's being implemented. You are literally seeing all the code here. It's just modifying the query to add order random. So there is some implementation behind order random, but this is pretty much it. If you want to create your own filter or your own ordering, your own sorting, this is how you do it. All right, so here's our site so far, and I want to show some of the performance improvements that you can get using Orchard 1.4 and using its cache module. Here we're getting rendering times of about 500 milliseconds, which is really not bad, but we can do a lot better. And to get better rendering times, we're going to go back into the dashboard and install that cache module. So let's go to modules and make a search on the gallery for cache. And this is giving us, and there it is. The cache module is here. We can install it and enable the feature that we want. And once this is done, we'll be able to go back to the front end and see if we spot a difference in rendering time. Okay, so let's refresh this. And yes, for the cache module to be active, you need to be signed out. It only kicks in for anonymous access. So let's click sign out and refresh and try to see if we spot a difference. And it actually makes a huge difference here. We are down to times that are about 30 milliseconds down from 500 milliseconds. So it's more than 10 times faster, much more than 10 times faster. 30 milliseconds is actually pretty good. So let's sign back into the site. Go to the dashboard and look at the cache settings here. We can set up the default cache duration, but we can also set the max age, and this is a little different. This sets up the site to cache using AES. You have also options for different cultures, and you can even set for each page how long the cache, well, for each route, how long the cache is going to last. And the last thing here is the statistics, where you can actually see the cache entries that are currently saved, currently in use, and when they were cached. And if you need to renew one of those pages, you can click evict, and that will remove that page from the cache, and next time it's hit, the page will be regenerated. Of course, once you've activated the cache, of course, every time we refresh the page, if we are not authenticated, the widget will not be refreshed with the new version. Here we are authenticated, so the cache is not kicking in, but if we sign out and refresh, as you can see, the widget remains always the same. So keep that in mind when you're using caching. And that's it for performance and caching. So we can sign back in, go to the dashboard, and keep on creating that site. So the next module we're going to install is going to be Markdown. Well, the feature that we're going to enable is Markdown. And the reason why I'm doing this is that I'm frankly not a big fan of WYSIWYG edition, and I like to use Markdown instead, that I find easier to control. And next, I'm going to install a commerce module that I built. It's not part of the official Orchard release, but it's something that I released at the same time as 1.4, and that I think is fairly useful. So I'm going to show how to use it. So the module is called Noisette Commerce, and it's on the gallery. It does shopping cart, products, Google checkout, and some referral work that I'm not going to use here. So now that the module is installed, I have a new commerce section in my admin menu that enables me to manage my products and my shipping methods for now. Let's look at the content types. So the module also installs a new content type, which is the product content type, and that we are going to modify for our specific needs. Out of the box, it comes with a few common product things. It also adds a product image field using the new media picker field that came with 1.4. It has a title, it has auto route, which is an awesome feature that we are going to explain in details. It has a body for the product description, and it has the product part that is going to set up the price and SKU and all that stuff. Let's look at the body for now, because we just installed the Markdown feature, if you remember. And this is where we are going to say that we want this particular content type to use to use Markdown instead of HTML, which is the default. But before we do, I want to add the module to the solution so that we can look at the code in our familiar environment. So here I'm navigating to the Noisette Commerce module, picking the CS proj, and I just added it to the module folder of the solution. And now my commerce module is available here. I can look at, for example, the migration. And this is very interesting because you can see how a content type gets created from code. And as you can see, it's the same stuff, the same parts that you have on the content type. So we were creating the table above. Here we're creating the content type itself, adding parts, and even setting preferences on those content parts. So you can recognize here all the parts that we can see in the admin UI. All right, so another thing is creatable and indexed, which are metadata on the content type that enable it to be created from the admin UI and indexed in the search engine. We also have here the addition of the media picker field that I showed in the admin UI a little earlier, and this is setting the display name and everything that you can see, all the settings that you can see for that field. And those settings are reflected in the admin UI as well. So everything you can do from the admin UI, you can also do in code, and that's very interesting when you're building a reusable piece of functionality. You also have here an update from the first migration. That's how migrations work. You have an initial step, but you can add upgrades later, which enable your existing users to migrate to the new version very easily. So yeah, when I create a new product here, you can see I have a Save and Publish Now button. This is because my product content type has been marked draftable in the migration. Let's go back to the content type editor and look at body again, and this time set Markdown here instead of HTML as the flavor. And this is enough to change the editor here from TinyMCE to a Markdown editor. All right, so let's create some products. So this is a product, an actual product that I'm selling on my website. It's a little kit to build your own gaming console. And that is programmable in .NET. We'll go back to the permalink thing later. This uses autoroute. I can paste a Markdown description of my product here that I can see a preview of. Choose a product image using the media picker field that was added. So let's click on Browse. And this brings up the media picker UI. And I can browse to the image that I want, upload it, and insert it. Then I can choose a SKU, pick 64, I can choose a price, $79.99. A weight, this is going to be important for shipping, 0.27 pounds. I'm leaving the shipping cost blank, this will be calculated, and I can publish that product. The product has been created, and now I can navigate to its page. Pick 64. Oh, but I didn't enter exactly the right URL, so this is a good opportunity to see a custom 404 page, which are created by just creating a notfound.cshtml template in your theme. So I corrected the URL here, and here is my product page. So if I go back to the product page, here I can correct my slug, which was automatically created from the title, which was the default setting of the autoroute part that creates those URLs. So once I corrected that path, that permalink, now I can navigate to PIC64 without the dash in the URL and get my product page. So let's go back to the dashboard, to content types, and modify the auto route settings for this content type, for this product content type. Here you can see the default setting, which is to take the slug, which is a sanitized version of the title. Instead, what I want is the SKU for the product, and actually my module introduced its own tokens. That enables me to use my own content custom properties inside of an auto route pattern. Let's look at how this is done from code. So I created that new products token class that uses that now familiar pattern of describing what it provides and then explaining how it works. So the first part here, the description, is giving the metadata of the tokens. So I have SKU, price, is digital, etc. So for each of those tokens, I'm explaining how to get the actual value of that token. And this is done by casting the content item into a product and extracting its property. It's very, very simple. And that's enough to expose my own custom functionality to the auto route feature. And this way I can create pretty arbitrary paths for my content items, which is a very, very powerful thing. So now the next product that I'm going to create is going to use this pattern. And you can see you have other options such as aligning custom patterns, automatically regenerating the pattern when you save the item, and so on. So let's create a new product. This is a microcontroller that we also sell on the site. It's a great microcontroller that you can program in .NET. And here, as you can see, the description for the permalink has changed to reflect what I set up in the settings for auto route. So now it's going to take the SKU. Here I pasted the description, the Markdown description of the product. I can select the product image for the controller. So upload a file from my hard drive, click upload, click insert. And there it is. The SKU is going to be an Arduino. The price is going to be $34.99, 95. The weight is going to be 0046, which doesn't sound like much, but if you order 100, okay, so that's that. And as you can see, when I saved, the SKU was used as the permalink, and I can browse to it directly. So now I have two products in my site. The PIC64 kit and the Arduino microcontroller. For the moment, they're only available through their direct path, and we are going to want to create some navigation around that. We're going to want to have lists of products. And what's out of the box is fine for little things, for small sites, but I like to use taxonomies on my own sites, especially if I expect them to grow to a more considerable number of content items. So here I've enabled the main taxonomies feature. I'm not going to use the menu feature that comes with it, but you could. And once this is installed, we are going to be able to start creating our taxonomies. So think about taxonomies as trees of categorizations for your contents, ways you can tag your contents in a very rich fashion, much better than ordinary tags. And you're going to see that the way this is implemented is actually very interesting and very, very rich. So here I'm creating the product category taxonomy. Of course, I can create as many taxonomies as I want. Then I can enter some terms under those taxonomies. And terms are probably the most important entity in the taxonomy module. So here I have a parent term that is going to be electronics. But in the future, if I want to sell other products and electronics, I will be able to do that under the same product category taxonomy. And under electronics, I'm going to create two subcategories, subterms, the microcontroller term and the kit term. And they're both under electronics. So kit, save, and there it is. That's our primitive taxonomy for now, but this will be enriched in the future. So now that we have this taxonomy, we need to apply it to our contents. To do that, we are going back to content types and we are going to edit our product content type to add taxonomies to it, this product category taxonomy. And every time you create a taxonomy, two things get created, a content type that goes with it that we'll see later, and a field. So here I'm going to create my category field for my product. So product category. And I'm going to pick taxonomy field as the field type. Save this, and there it is, my product category taxonomy field. I'm just going to fix that capital C here. I like this to be capital P, capital C. There it is. And now we can configure it, and in particular, we can choose which taxonomy this field is representing. And I'm restricting the selectable elements to the leaves so that you can select electronics as the category. You need to be more specific than that. All right, so let's tag each of those products with this taxonomy. So the NetVino product is going to be tagged with microcontroller and the PIC64 with kit. So here it is, product category. I can choose microcontroller here. So that's what it is. I can select electronics, which is how I configured it. I can publish, and now it's under the right category. So let's do the same on the little console kit. And choose kit here. Publish. And our products are both categorized. So what's interesting is that each of your terms are actually content items, and they have a path. And that path is computed from the path of the parent and their own title. And this is very interesting because it gives you a recursive URL schema. So let's look at how this works. When you go back to content types, when we scroll down here, we see, I've alluded to that a few seconds ago, but you have a new content type, which is for the term. So terms themselves are content items that are of a specific type. And that type has autoroute, and its configuration for autoroute is to take the path of the container and then its own slug. So you see the slug here and the container path here, and the container path itself is using its own autoroute settings, which are the same. So this is recursive, so you get the recursive path of your item. And of course, this is not limited to taxonomy. You can do this on any containable container relationship that you have in your site. Autoroute also comes with another feature, that's Alias UI, which enables you to manage the aliases, the actual physical routes that Autoroute generated. In the admin menu, that new UI is under aliases once you've enabled the feature, and here you can see all the aliases that were already generated. And we have electronics, we have product category, we have two PIC64s here. That's an interesting thing. When I modified the route for the console, it actually left the old one here, and that is by design, so that you don't create broken links if you don't want to. The right thing to do here would be to put a permanent redirect from one to the other, but you're responsible for doing that. The system is not going to do that for you. And now, as you can see, both aliases work, but if I delete one, then I have a unique URL for that product, which is how it should be. Now I want to do something quite interesting, which is to provide navigation features to my taxonomy terms. You remember that we said that a content type was created for each new taxonomy, and here we're going to use that fact to actually add new parts to that category term. And the part that we want to add is menu, which will give the ability for those terms to appear on the navigation menu. So now when I go to my terms and I edit my terms, I can see that the editor now has show on main menu, and if I check that, I can enter a text for that term on the menu, and I can do that for the other term as well, of course. And this way I will have two new menu items, kits and microcontrollers, that will point to those taxonomy terms. I can check that is the case by going to navigation and see that my menu now has those two new entries and that they're pointing to the terms. And when I go to the front end, they are there as well. And when I click one, I can see what's under the term. This is a really nice way to categorize your contents while building the navigation. All right, so now we can go back to the dashboard and set up our Google checkout. That will be useful to be able to actually check out and communicate information to Google for actual payment. We're not going to do any actual checkouts in this demo, but all you would have to do would be to enter your merchant ID in there. So let's go back to widgets and add a new widget in the same aside that we used before, and this time we're going to add the shopping cart widget. It's going to be in top position in the aside zone. I'm going to call it your cart, but I'm going to uncheck this checkbox so that it doesn't render its title automatically, but the widget itself renders it. It will appear here. So if I go to one of my products and add to cart, there it is. It appears where we set it. Your cart here was added by the template. It computes the subtotal of the cart. I can update it. I can remove products, add them back. I can add several products, and this all behaves like you would expect. And then I can check out using Google Checkout. The module is completely pluggable. You could plug in PayPal or any other payment method. It also has a full cart page that you can use. Let's set up some shipping methods before we start trying to check out. We want two shipping methods here. Domestic shipping method for inside the US, and we are going to add another international method for the rest of the world. We're using USPS. It costs us $7 to ship. We could set up a wait interval, and here we are selecting all US states as the valid place for this shipping method. Google Checkout understands those shipping methods, as we'll see. So the international method here is also going to use USPS. It's going to cost $15, and here we are going to include the world, but we're going to exclude the United States so that this method doesn't even appear for people inside the US. So now we have our shipping methods, which we'll check work a little later. But before we do that, there is one last thing that I want to set up on that site, and that's comments on my products. I think it's very important to get customer feedback and make that public. So let's go back to our product content type and add comments. So add part, check comments here, save, and now we can go back to our products and start entering comments. Here I'm authenticated as admin, so I don't need to enter my name and email and so on, and my comments get approved automatically. For anonymous users, I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to go into comments and configure it for moderation here. Right, so here I'm going to enable the rules feature because I also want to get an email message when those comments get published, and this can be done very easily using rules. We are going to go to the new rules menu entry here and add a new rule. That rule is going to be called comment notifications. Let's save that. We're going to add a new event, which is going to be the publication of a comment by a user. I'm going to choose the comment content type here, save, and I'm going to choose a new action, which is going to be to notify that a new comment has been published. So this is not going to do the email. We are going to get to that in a second, but for the moment it's just going to show a message on the screen, which is going to be your comment has been submitted and will be visible as soon as the admin will be published as soon as the admin has reviewed it. Right, so let's save this and try it. So we need to be on the product page, type a comment. I love Arduino, save that comment, and that didn't work. And that didn't work because, as always, I forgot to enable the rule that I just created. I only saved it instead of saving and enabling. We'll do that in a second. For the moment, I just logged out and I'm entering an anonymous comment here. Well, anonymous from an authentication perspective. And this is the default message that appears from the commenting module. Let's go to the dashboard and look at this rule. And while we're doing that, before we do that, let's install the email messaging module so that we can actually create the rule that we intended to create from the start, which is to send email. For that new module to work, we need to set up SMTP settings. So here I'm going to enter my email coordinates that will be used as the sender email address, my SMTP server. I could require credentials if that's necessary and enter them. I can save here, my settings are updated, I can go back to rules, and as you can see here it's disabled. Let's enable it, and let's test this rule. So you can go back to the site and create a new comment on, for example, Arduino. So let's enter something here, for example, yay, Arduino, with a little more enthusiasm than that. So let's submit this comment, and now we should see the message telling us that the comment has not been published yet, but that it will be approved later. And as you can see, my comment here was pending, so I can approve it. Let's go back to the rule and actually set up that email notification. So we can have more than one action associated to an event. So here I'm adding send email, and I can specify who the email is going to be sent to. I'm just going to choose site admin, but you could choose an arbitrary list of emails. The subject here is going to be a new comment has been published on, and then we want to put the name of the site. But actually, you know, this field is token enabled, so we can do better than that. We can say, yeah, a new comment has been posted by, and then inject the author of the comment, name of the author of the comment. Same thing for the body. This is token driven, and we can insert all kinds of information such as the actual comment inside of the email, and we can even add a link to the moderation UI. So this is going to be very useful whenever a comment is published. I have a link in my email that I can click to moderate that comment. All right, so one last thing that I want to do here is make sure that my cart is not cached. Here you can see in the cache pages there is naked cart, which is the AJAX request to my cart to display it on the right hand side. And I don't want that to be cached because I don't want all my users to get the same cart. So here I need to configure it to 0 here. Everything that's cart related, everything that's commerce related, I'm setting 0 caching on that. Hopefully one day the module is going to be able to do that programmatically. All right, so the site is done now. We have products, we have external post, we have a shopping cart, we have commenting, we have notifications on our comments, and we have commerce actually working. We can start selling stuff with that site. This is actually pretty much what I have on my own website where I'm selling those products. So there you have it. It's Orchard 1.4 and it's available today. You can download it and start building sites with it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully there will be many more coming, and I hope you'll build some amazing sites with Orchard 1.4. Thank you very much for listening.